Ladies and gentlemen, it has officially happened. The league has voted to flip the calendar from winter to fall to the spring. It's official. Oh, it's just such a great day. Finally. We've been debating this for years now. Like, I remember doing a video almost a year to the day talking about this with Eric Winalda, talking about if this needed to happen, if it was good for the league. And here we are. It's officially official. And we're going to read this article by Paul Tenorio. We're going to read the statement by MLS. And we're going to talk about why this is the right move for Major League Soccer and how this is going to help the league move forward. And I want to get your guys' opinion, obviously. Real quick, too, we have a playoff video that was supposed to drop at 6 o'clock. Because this breaking news, we're going to postpone that until tomorrow. Before we get into this, I'm going to read this article by Paul Tenorio. Make sure you guys smash the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is the only MLS channel where you're going to get breaking news, breaking live stream watch-alongs, breaking anything. The best, the most MLS content you're going to get. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We still got a lot of playoff stuff left to do. We got the semifinals, the conference finals, and then the MLS Cup final. You're not going to miss any of that content, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of my videos or emergency live streams. So let's get to it. Let's talk about it. Glad that it's an active chat. Glad to see most of you in here. Mister says, hi, Will. Hi, chat. Wade says, confirmed is the vote final. The vote is final. The vote is final. Okay, let's read this. Let's get to it. I know you guys are excited as I am. I'm super excited. MLS owners vote to flip the schedule to European calendar, change format starting in 2027. The MLS owners officially voted Thursday to flip the calendar to begin in mid-July and run through May. The vote moves the league forward on a major change it has been studying and debating for more than a year. The league will begin play in the new format in 2027. In addition to the new calendar, league owners also voted to update the regular season format. The playoff format is still in discussion, which, like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow. The league will move to a single table competition, which is great, but will also have 5 6-team divisions beginning in 2027, according to sources through league executives declined to go into detail on the new format. The plan is MLS regular season to span from mid-July to April, with the playoffs staged in May. The league would take a winter break in December and January. For all of you who complain about the weather, who say that, oh my God, we can't do this because the weather is going to kill attendance. No one's going to show up to the game. I want you to read this line 2 times. I want you to read it very clearly. The league would take a winter break in December and January. So they're not going to play in the 2 coldest months of the year. They will be taking a break during those months, okay? So I just hope you guys understand that. They're not going to be playing games in January. They're not going to be playing games in most of December. So I just hope that you guys realize that they're not going to be having these snow games. Wade says USL is cooked. So games would likely pause from around the 2nd week in December through the 1st or 3rd week in February. It's kind of a huge difference, right? 1st or 3rd week. MLS, understandably, is trying to avoid restarting the league on the Super Bowl weekend. But, that makes a little bit of sense. There would also be a summer break in June and July. Now, one thing I do like about this is that they would be starting in July instead of August. So that kind of helps make the season last longer. But I want to get you guys involved, okay? I'm going to give you my thoughts. I read this to you. There's also an official statement put out by Major League Soccer that we'll read. But I want to ask you guys, do you guys agree or disagree? Yes or no? Is this a good thing for Major League Soccer to change the calendar? Yes, it's a good thing. No, it's a bad thing. I want to know what you guys think about MLS officially changing from the winter to fall schedule to the fall to spring schedule. It's official. It's happening. which is great. I mean, we've been talking about this, like I said, for an entire year. It's been exhausting. A lot of people have been upset. It is a pretty hot topic or controversial topic. A lot of people are really passionate about this one way or the other. But this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do. And we're, like I said, we're going to talk about why it's a pro and why the MLS schedule wasn't cutting it. It just wasn't. Wade says this is the best move. Zach says yes. Miguel says dub overall. MLS teams need to build indoor stadiums, and I wouldn't have a problem. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's see. Yes, but not as excited until they increase salary cap. Well, that's a whole other issue. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit in this. I mean, that's definitely part of it because there was some more news today about Apple TV, but the calendar change is the biggest thing by far. It's the biggest thing by far. And I want to focus mostly on that because that has a true impact on how this league will operate. This is a big, big deal. And this is something, I talked about how they've been debating this and talking about it for a year, but this is something they've been talking about or saying that couldn't be done 10, 11 years ago. They said that, I remember Don Garber saying that this could never happen in North America. And here we are. It is happening. It is officially happening. And it's just such a great day. If you love soccer, if you want to see this league grow, this is very, very important. Very important for the league. So I'm going to read this statement too by the league real quick. So the league put out a statement saying Major League Soccer today announces the shift in its competition calendar, aligning with the league schedule with the world's top soccer leagues. Beginning in the summer of 2027, MLS will adopt the summer to spring season format, marking one of the most significant developments in the league's history. And then they posted a calendar. Let me find this real quick. They posted a calendar so you could visualize what it's going to look like. So July is the kickoff. You play July, August, September, October, November, take a break in December halfway through and January, and then you start back up in February, probably after the Super Bowl, and then you play March and April, and then you have the MLS Cup. This is just incredible. Like it's just hard to, when I'm looking at this, it's just so, I'm just so happy that this finally happened. Okay, let's just talk about some of the things, and we'll, if you guys have any questions, make sure you fire them away. Let's talk about why this is important. Okay, let's talk about many reasons why this is important for Major League Soccer. So currently, Major League Soccer plays from February to December, but there's a caveat with that. You play till December if you are in the MLS Cup playoffs. Okay, if you don't make the playoffs, your season ends in mid-October. So you play from February, late February to October. That's only, 7 months, 8 months? 8 months of a regular season, right? So that means if you don't make the playoffs, your offseason is 4 months. No top soccer league in the world's offseason is 4 months. That's unheard of around the world. Unheard of and unacceptable. Too much time to not be playing soccer consecutively. And I just want to point this out, that if you don't make the playoffs, which I would assume decision day is going to be late April now, if you don't make the playoffs, your offseason will be May and June, and you kick back off in July. So your offseason goes from 4 months to 2.5 months. So you just shed 1.5 months of offseason by switching to this calendar. That is very essential. There have been a lot of players say that they didn't want to come to Major League Soccer because of there's too much off time. There's way too much off time, and this helps. I remember in 2023 when Inter Miami didn't qualify for the playoffs, Messi didn't play a single competitive game for club for 4 months. 4 months, which is unacceptable, unheard of, especially if you want to be a top league in the world. So that's the first point, right? Also, too, another important thing about, because we're talking about how it's structured with breaks and stuff, right? Look at the playoff format right now. The current playoff format, which, like I said, I'm dropping a video tomorrow talking more in depth about the issues with the current MLS playoff format in high detail. But another issue is that with the current playoff format, when you do make it, you play the single elimination game, which is the play-in match, and then you play the best of 3 series. But then, because of the international break, where teams are playing with their national team, you have to take a 2-week break and completely just take out all the momentum you've built for the MLS Cup playoffs. We have to wait another week before the MLS Cup playoffs start back up. Some teams who won their first 2 matches they have a 3-week break between playoff matches. That's just absurd. Like 3-week break between playoff matches? That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So, with this change, the entire playoffs will be in one single month. Right now, it's in 2 months. It's at the back end of October, the entire month of November, and then the first week of December. So essentially, I mean, it's technically dates in 3 months, but if you look at the time, it's about 2 months. So you're having to spread this out and drag it on because of international breaks, which hurts the people's interest, viewership, and attention, right? So this right here is going to help the people focus in just one singular month on MLS Cup playoffs. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, the next thing, the next thing that I think is very important to talk about is competition with sports. Okay, and we'll talk about transfers too, because I know that's definitely something a lot of you guys are very know that this is a big important thing of helping alleviate any type of disadvantage Major League Soccer has on the transfer market. But let's talk about competition with other sports, because this is another thing a lot of people like to debate and say that is going to hurt Major League Soccer. And by the way, guys, 106 of you in the chat right now. I think we have like, let's see, we have 17 likes. Come on, smash the like button if you haven't already. We've got 17 likes, but 106 of you right now. I know if you guys are watching this, you're huge MLS fans. So make sure you hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We have emergency live streams like this to give you guys the best and most up-to-date MLS coverage and content. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you don't miss any of my videos or emergency live streams. Okay, so let me get a sip of water real quick. We're going in on this. Okay, this is another important thing of why this is a big deal for Major League Soccer. As currently constructed, the MLS Cup playoffs are going on right now. We talked about the international break, but let's talk about the competition that they're going up against right now in our own country, the United States. And obviously, we have 3 teams in Canada, but only one team in Canada is in the playoffs right now. So let's just talk mostly about the United States. So as of right now, with the playoffs going on, the most important part of your season, you have college football, you have the NFL, you have the NBA regular season, you have NHL regular season. Major League Baseball's World Series just ended 2 weeks ago. All of these things are going on right now, competing with the most important part of your regular season. Or it's not regular season, sorry, the most important part of your season, the MLS Cup playoffs. The MLS Cup playoffs are supposed to be the climax for all the hard work that you put in all season long to see who is the best team in the league. And when you have all these other things going on, all these other sports, all these other interests, especially college football and the NFL, it really hurts viewership. It hurts interest. The competition is almost unfair. And here's another thing. The MLS Cup final is always played on the first Saturday of December, or at least like the 7th. I think it's normally the first Saturday of December because it would never be played on the 1st or 2nd, but it's normally within the first 7 days, 8 days of December. Okay. And the MLS Cup final is always played the same day as college football championship week, where the conference championship games are. That hurts your viewership so bad because the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC, the Big 10, the former Pac-12, all these conferences are playing their championship games while you're playing your biggest game of the year. And in 2024, now we don't have the Apple numbers, but in 2024 on Fox, the New York Red Bulls and LA Galaxy match only got 476,000 viewers. And this is the championship game of Major League Soccer. This is the championship game of Major League Soccer. Like I said, the climax of the season, and nobody was watching it. I would be willing to bet you that there were more viewers on some regular season matches, like maybe Inter Miami, than the MLS Cup final, which is supposed to be the biggest game in the season. The biggest game in the season. Okay. Premier League games. I mean, the Premier League's obviously a juggernaut. It's the biggest league in the country, viewership wise. But when a championship game has way less viewers than a regular season soccer match, there's an issue with that, right? There's an issue with that. And you have to go to the drawing board and see what it is. Now, obviously, the quality and people are going to want them to spend more. I agree with that. No one's going to hear me disagree with that. But also, you have to look at who they're competing with. Who are they fighting for viewerships with, right? They just don't have a chance when they're fighting against college football. They just don't. A lot of people watch college football, including myself. I watch college football. I watch NFL, or I watch the MLS Cup final, obviously, but I love college football. And I know that some people don't want to watch multiple things at once, especially different sports, and they'll pick college football over MLS. They don't have to worry about this anymore. So with the MLS Cup playoffs in May, the final will probably be the last week of May or maybe even the first week of June. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. But with MLS Cup final being in May, the only thing they're competing against is NBA basketball playoffs, right? But you could schedule it to where it's a night where they're not playing, and you're competing with the hockey. Nobody cares about regular season baseball. There's 162 games. Nobody cares about that. There's no NFL. There's no college football. So you're competing with the NBA playoffs, which the viewership is way less than college football, way less than the NFL, and you're competing with hockey. I would take those matchups over NFL, college football, and hell, NBA and NHL are playing right now. They're playing right now anyway. So I would much rather go up against them. And you want to maximize. You want this to feel like, I know people, like I said, people are going to clown me for saying this, but you want to feel like a Champions League final. You want to feel like a Super Bowl. You want there to be this hype, this wind behind your sail, like the stakes are high for this match. It's supposed to be a big deal. And it just gets buried with everything it's competing against in this current climate. It's getting buried, guys. It honestly is. I know that that's what happens with this current format. So that's a big deal. That is a huge deal in this current this change that is going to occur. Another thing, let's throw this out there. I mean, there are just so many pros, right? Another thing that is important, and I don't think people talk about this, and I promise you guys, I'm saving the transfer window for last because it's a big deal. It's the Champions Cup too. Mr. hit the nail on the head. The Champions Cup, and also Wade hit it. We have had so many disappointing performances in CONCACAF Champions Cup because our scheduling just doesn't align to make it favorable for us. Now, Liga MX has beaten us fair and square. I'm not blaming Liga MX for dominating us. They deserve their flowers. They deserve the credit. They beat us fair and square. But I would like to think that if we were on a similar schedule as them, that the matchups would be not necessarily more favorable, but more even. Like it could go either way. It could be more of a toss-up, right? As it stands right now, MLS teams are playing their Champions League matches or Champions Cup matches in their preseason. They're playing games in the Champions Cup before they've even played their first official regular season match as it currently stands in February. They are having to play their Champions League matches as essentially preseason games. I mean, how is that a good idea? How is that a good idea? And how are you supposed to win? How many good teams have fallen through the cracks and not been able to advance because they're having to play their Champions League matches in the preseason? In the preseason. So that's going to help. And by the time an MLS team does make it to the final in June, which is normally when the Champions Cup final is, a lot of luck had to go their way to be able to advance that way. We saw that with Vancouver this past year. But now with this schedule, we're essentially on the same exact schedule as Liga MX. On the same, now they technically have 2 seasons because the Clausura and the Apertura, but it's essentially the same thing. We're on the same exact schedule now as Liga MX. And that is crucial for the Champions League. Absolutely crucial. Crucial for the Champions League. And I believe MLS will probably start winning it more frequently once they officially adopt this system and move over to there, because they will be on the same exact schedule as them and they'll be in form in the same time as them. And we heard that with Leagues Cup. A lot of Liga MX teams struggle in Leagues Cup because they're playing it during their preseason or the beginning of their season where they're not in form. So that's a big deal. I don't know about you guys, but I'd like to start winning winning CONCACAF Champions Cup. I'd like to start winning that. I'd like to start winning that and being respected instead of the laughing stock of CONCACAF. Too many times we've seen us make it to the final and just get absolutely embarrassed. Absolutely embarrassed. Shard says 2-month break is so bad though. But here's the thing, guys. I want you to think about this. And I was going to mention this. This winter break that you see right here, and my mouse doesn't show up on it, but look where that winter break gap is on where you can currently see on the screen. Okay. I think that's where Leagues Cup's going to be played. I think Leagues Cup is going to be played during the winter break to keep the players in form. I think that they're going to have host cities in the South, and that's when Leagues Cup is going to be played at some point during the winter break, because I think they have a winter break in Liga MX too. Could be wrong about that, but I think they're going to do Leagues Cup during the winter break. And that's a good time to have it, right? When else would you have it? So that makes a lot of sense. I actually am really cool with that, and it would help because the Leagues Cup will probably be about a month. So it'd probably start at some point in maybe at the end of, I would say probably starts in January. Maybe it's the entire month of January in the South. D-Live says 100% Leagues Cup during the winter break is perfect. It is. It's like the perfect spot for it, and it keeps your players in form where you don't have to worry about them losing their touch heading back into the second part of the season. Okay? So it makes a lot of sense of why this would be where it is. That the Leagues Cup would be during the winter break of 6-7 weeks, however long it's supposed to be. And Leagues Cup's normally about 5 weeks, I think, maybe 4 weeks. Mr. says either that or Leagues Cup becomes a preseason tournament. I mean, that's possible too, but I would think they probably would do the winter break because I know that Liga MX does not like, they don't like having to do that in August and in July. They don't like playing in that tournament at that point. So we'll see. Liga MX has preseason during December. Makes sense to have Leagues Cup then. Yeah, well, kind of, because it's like an in between. It's like I always get them confused with the Clausura and the Apertura season, but it's like that transition from that second part of the season. So we'll see. We'll see what happens as a Bostonian. The February-March playoff stretch may not be so daunting in 27 to 20 degree anymore. Our supporter shield. Wait, I'm a little confused. The February to March. Oh, I got you now. I know what you're saying now. Yeah, the playoff stretch, like trying to make the playoffs. We got to throw April in there too, because you got the entire month of April. The entire month of April as well. Marvelous says you have a valid point about Champions Cup. There's so much momentum, and many clubs do not begin in their best form. They don't, and there's no telling how many teams haven't advanced in MLS or the CONCACAF Champions Cup, CONCACAF Champions League. It's been 2 different iterations or names. How many teams have fallen through the cracks and didn't advance or didn't win because they're trying to play during their preseason? Inter Miami was playing Sporting Kansas City in Kansas City in Champions Cup before the regular season even started, which is absurd. So that's one thing, okay? Let's talk about the transfer window. And then if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. But let's talk about the transfer window. And this is maybe the most important thing, okay? So currently, as it stands, Major League Soccer, their primary transfer window is in the winter, okay? And the primary transfer window for the global leagues, like the biggest leagues in the world, or actually just global soccer in general, is the summer. Okay. So there's a multiple reasons why this is bad as it current or how it was. Well, it currently is this way. This is going to change in 2027. So this is the way it currently is. I'll give you a prime example. So the Columbus Crew sold Cucho Hernandez, and they sold him at the beginning of this regular season to Real Betis. Okay. Cucho Hernandez, the best player on Columbus Crew last several years. Okay. They sold him because he only had 1 year left on his deal. And if they didn't sell him in January, he could have left on a free transfer in the summer. So they had to sell him essentially. They had to. Well, because they sold him, they weren't able to get a striker to replace him in the winter window because a lot of teams don't want to sell their best players in the middle of their season. And like we've talked about, around the world, January is the middle of everyone's season. And they don't want to let go of their best player through a league push to try to win their league. Okay. They just don't want to do that. So the Columbus Crew had to wait essentially until the summer to sign a striker, which they signed Ali, the Palestinian striker from Al Ali. And they went 2/3 of their season without a true bona fide DP striker. And they limped into the playoffs and they lost in the first round to FC Cincinnati. That completely just destroyed their season, losing Cucho Hernandez, which they were forced to sell because, like I said, they were going to lose him on a free transfer. So they had to wait 6 months to sign a striker. So half their season is just wasted. Okay? Wasted. And another thing, too, is that a lot of teams, now that's an exception. They had to sell him, like I said, because he would have left on a free. But a lot of teams don't want to sell or they don't do any business until the summer because that's when everyone's trying to buy. That's when everybody's willing to wheel and deal and make moves, is the summer transfer window. Now MLS is going to be able to sell their players in the preseason and buy their best players in the preseason. Look at every single big star, for the most part, that's come over to Major League Soccer. Look at Messi, for example. In 2023, he came over in the summer after the 2023 season of PSG. And he came in so late, they did have a chance, but it was a very, very small chance of making the MLS Cup playoffs. But they didn't make it, right? So Messi came in here and played 1/3 of the season, and he was kind of forced in there. He didn't really have a lot of chemistry with his teammates. He didn't have the preseason to get to kind of build that chemistry, right? If the calendar change had happened, or if we were in the new calendar format when Messi had signed, Messi would have been there from the beginning of the season and wouldn't have to have been integrated into the half season or 1/3 season. It's all about perspective. I'd say after the summer window, it's really about about 1/3 of the season's left. But if it was the new format, these players, these big time players you have, would have been in at the start of the preseason and been able to integrate into the team. And that's a big deal if you ask me, because you want to have your players at their best possible form and with the chemistry with their teammates, right? You want that to happen off the rip. You don't want to have to wait 6 months or to the next year for them to fully realize their potential and start to fit in with their new team. And a lot of teams in Major League Soccer don't make any moves in the wintertime. Now, some of them do. I don't want to say none of them do, but a lot of them don't. And some of them treat the first half of the season like a preseason. And then they kind of just sputter and they just kind of like limp across the line into the summer. And then they make big moves. And then that's when they really start to try. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. I want all the teams to go 0 to 100, trying their hardest, trying to win out of the gate, and trying to be the best possible club they can be from day one. Not this, well, we'll sign a striker, we'll sign a creative midfielder, In the summer window, guys, we'll try to hit that market. So you have to wait 6 months before you can finally get a playmaker or a lethal striker or a center back or whatever the case may be. You have to wait 6 months to do that. You have to wait the entire first half of your season before you can make those additions. So now we're going to be able to be more competitive in the transfer game. We're going to be able to buy more players and have them be here from day one. We're going to be able to sell players and not worry about having to get rid of them and jeopardizing our season. There's been so many times where a player has been sold in the summer and they end up keeping them on loan because they don't want to lose them in the most important part of your season. Why would any team want to sell their player in the summer halfway through their season? So forget about the first part. Why would any team want to sell their best player at the halfway point of their season and totally derail their season? It happened with Diego Gomez in Brighton. They wanted to have him last summer after they purchased him and had a verbal agreement with Inter Miami. Miami didn't want to sell Diego Gomez because they wanted to try to win MLS Cup. They wanted to try to win MLS Cup. Why would a team sell their best player in the middle of the season? It's the same thing of why a lot of teams don't want to sell their best players to to MLS in the winter window. Why would you want to sell your best player in the most pivotal part of your season of trying to make that push? Why would you do that? So having this aligned with the Premier League, La Liga, Eredivisie, the French League, Serie A, the Bundesliga, all these leagues is going to help you immensely in the transfer window. It's going to, there's just so many pros of why this is going to be a big deal for Major League Soccer. So many pros. And I honestly, I can't even tell you what I would rank the most important pieces of why this deal is such a big deal, of like the transfer window, of the Champions Cup, of having not competing with other sports. There's just it's hard to even rank them. It's hard to even rank them of which is most important. I don't know what you guys think. What do you guys think is the most important difference this change is going to make? What is the most important change that's going to come out of making the calendar switch? Is it the transfer window? Is it the viewership and the interest? Is it going to be the competitiveness as far as the Champions Cup? What do you think is the most important effect this is going to have on Major League Soccer? Like I said, the winter window is mostly loans and small business. The summer is the real one. You very, very rarely ever see any big transfers in the summer, in the winter window. You very, very rarely. And if you do, you're paying a premium. You're going to have to pay way more than what someone's actually worth to get that team to want to sell their player. Jake says, "Hey, my heroes, how are we all doing?" Jake, appreciate you stopping by, my friend. Big news in Major League Soccer today. Now, Wade says he thinks the CONCACAF Champions Cup and transfers are the two biggest things that's so important to this calendar change. Is that a good thing for MLS or not? It's a great thing. This is the best thing that's ever. This is going to go down as the most important day in Major League Soccer history. The only thing that will be bigger is when they increase the spending. But this is the biggest day in Major League Soccer history. Biggest day. This is going to change the league forever. Going to change the league forever. It's almost hard to even put into words what kind of impact this is going to have on Major League Soccer going forward. And there's so many people that are down on this. So many people are down on this. And I kind of want to finish this last part. kind of talking to the people who were down on this. So I made my case to you guys about why it's a good thing, comparing and contrasting the current system versus the new system and what the difference would be and why it would be better. I'll just say this, okay? To all the people who are against this move, have reservations about this move, or just don't want it to happen. What I would say to you is everything will be fine. This is going to help Major League Soccer out. It's going to help it be more competitive on the field. It's going to help it be more competitive in the transfer market. And it's going to make the league more respectable. And I know that a lot of people don't listen to anything I say when it comes to the winter break or the cold weather games. I saw some of the comments in here where people were just repeating the same thing and they don't listen to what I'm saying. Just hear me out on this. Major League Soccer currently starts their season in February. They end their season in December right now if you make it to MLS Cup. The winter break that they're going to implement is going to help with the cold climate cities. They're not going to have a game in Minnesota if there's a blizzard. They're not going to do that. They'll reschedule it or they'll move it. You don't have to worry about the cold weather games impacting your experience and limiting what games you can go to. They've thought about this very clear. They've got a system. They've got a plan to make sure that the fan experience is going to be just as good. The winter break is going to be implemented, especially in the colder months, to make sure that they maximize attendance. There's not going to be any games in Toronto, Montreal, Minnesota, Kansas City. They're not going to be played in January. They're not going to be played in December. They're not going to probably be played in the first week of February either. So just take that, what I'm saying to you, that they're not going to play these games in those cold weather months. They're not going to. So just delete that from your brain. It's not happening. Anytime you want to say, oh, winter, but what about I just want you to repeat yourself. Winter break, winter break, winter break. Anytime you have any inkling to say, if it snows, winter break, winter break. That's what you need to keep telling yourself. Winter break. And we got a $5 super chat from Adam. Let me read this real quick. Hey, Will, I'm a casual fan from when would it start and when would MLS season end? What month? So the new format, the season would start in July. I don't know is like exactly what day in July, but the season, and I appreciate the super chat, Adam, by the way. The season would start in July and it would end in May. The regular season would end in April. So July to April for the regular season teams who don't make the playoffs. And then May would be the entire MLS Cup playoffs, which is great. I love that. I just love that the entire thing is in 1 month instead of spread out between 3 months. That makes it a lot better. Makes it a lot better and more enjoyable. But I think I'm about to end it here. We went 40 minutes. Unless you guys have some questions. But I just want to finish off by saying, just if you have reservations, be fine. Tell yourself winter break. That could be your cope. Winter break, winter break, winter break. Okay. And this is a big day. It finally happened. I knew it was going to happen. It just makes way too much sense. It's best for the league. And I feel like the league is finally going to reach its potential. Oh, and I forgot to mention something very important too, by the way. This is very, very important. What about the World Cup and all the summer tournaments that MLS plays through? I don't know how I didn't mention that. MLS was playing through Copa America. They played for the World Cup before. They played through the Gold Cup before. MLS literally has to play through these tournaments or their games would be in 6 months, like condensed into 6 months of time, which you can't do. So MLS had 9 games played through the Copa America in 2024. And I can assure you this. Nobody was watching MLS hardly when Copa America was going on. Yes, there were some fans going to the games, but the casual people were not watching because they were totally entrenched into the Copa America or the, whatever tournament's going on in the summer. Now we don't have to worry about that. We're off in June. We're off in most of July. So these big summer tournaments, we don't have to worry about anymore. That is awesome. That is so relieving that we don't have to worry about that any longer. Adam also had another $2 super chat. He says, do you have any thoughts where Zimmerman will go? I think Zimmerman's going to obviously try to go to a contender, maybe like an LAFC, maybe LA Galaxy. Maybe he'll go back out West Coast. I think he's going to have a lot of options. He's going to be very selective. and he's going to go to a contender. He's not going to just go to any team. I think he's very, very. And yes, there's 5 new divisions. I mentioned this earlier. They're going to get rid of the Eastern and Western Conference. Like I said, there's just so many things, guys. I'm so sorry. I think I might mention this in my playoff video tomorrow. But they're also getting rid of. They're getting rid of the conferences. They're going to go to five divisions of 6 teams, and it's going to be regional. Let me pull up an MLS teams map real quick, just so that way we can kind of look at it together. Because I do want you guys to kind of visualize a little bit of what they're planning to do. Let me see if I can find an updated 2020. Yeah, here we go. Let me pull this up real quick. I want to pull this up so that we can look at it and kind of visualize this. I don't know if you guys can see this very well. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, here we go. So I'm assuming they're going to regionalize it, obviously. You're going to have probably a division be Miami, Orlando, Atlanta, Nashville, Charlotte, DC United, I would say. And then probably like a northeast of Philly, NYCFC, Red Bulls, Revs, Montreal, and Toronto. And then probably like a Midwest of Columbus, Chicago, Cincinnati, Nashville, St. Louis City, Sporting Kansas City, and Minnesota United, and so on and so forth, right? I'm not going to read every one, but you kind of get the gist of it. Like they're going to regionalize all these games, and they're going to have it to where you kind of have a maybe teams every team that you're in a division with, you play twice a year. But I'm so happy that they're getting rid of the conferences. I don't like the conferences. I think it should just be a free for all playoff system where I mentioned this. You could have LAFC play Orlando City in the first round of the playoffs, or LA Galaxy play New York City FC, or Miami plays the Sounders in the first round of the playoffs. That's way more interesting to me because then it feels like the 2 actual best teams are going to make it to the final, rather than one conference could just be very weak and they make it to the final, and this other conference could be stacked. And then it's lopsided. So I do like the fact of the divisions in the MLS new format. There is one table. It is only going to be one table, but they're going to do divisions to kind of regionalize it and have you play the same teams. And I think if you win your division, you automatically make the playoffs. We'll have to see how that pans out. But they're getting rid of conferences, which is good. That is good. Imagine El Tráfico, Hell is Real, and Cascadian Final. And that's another thing, too. Think about that. Imagine if it was an El Tráfico MLS Cup final. That's not possible right now. That would be crazy. Or Hell is Real, like you said. That would be an incredible MLS Cup final. Also, too, want to touch on this real quick. I might do a video on this. I'm not sure. But Apple did announce today, someone kept mentioning this, Apple did announce today that they're going to get rid of MLS Season Pass. So now if you just have Apple TV, you get MLS Season Pass included, which is pretty cool. You get more bang for your buck. It's kind of dumb you had to pay for both. Really never made sense. So if you have Apple TV, you get MLS Season Pass now. And I think there's like probably 50, 60 million Apple TV subscribers. So that's good. That's more visibility. More people have this at their disposal. That's the way it really should have been the entire way. That's the way it should have went. It should have been the entire way. So we'll see how that impacts the league and what else happens. But I'm losing my voice. I hope we covered this all. We went about 45 minutes. I don't know if any of you guys have any final questions before we call it a stream. But I thought we needed to talk about this because it is a big deal, and I wanted to talk to you guys live. And it's just such a monumental day for Major League Soccer, and it's going to change the league forever. And it's going to increase the quality, it's going to increase the excitement, and it's going to increase the visibility from top to bottom, I believe. And I just really like how we're going to be on the same exact schedule as all the top leagues in the world. And if you want to be a top league in the world, you got to follow the footsteps of the top leagues in the world. And hopefully, the spending will be changed right around the corner. So, and D-Live says Apple also has a partnership with Peacock. They do. I think you can get both of them for you can get the bundle for like $15 a month. So that does help. That does help with the with the bundle. So anyways, guys, It's happened. MLS has officially switched their calendar. It's a monumental day. I can't believe it's finally here. It's been a long time in the making. 2027 is going to be a huge, huge year for Major League Soccer. And we'll have to see how they do that monstrosity of a half season, because we haven't talked about that either. And 2026 is going to be the last year of the current schedule. They're going to have to do something between January and July of 2027 to kind of, I mean, you can't just not play any games. So we'll have to see what they end up doing for that. But we'll see what they come up with. They got plenty of time to figure that out. I'm sure that they've already kind of discussed that. And Nick Smith says, Jorge Mas did this. You are welcome. Jorge Mas, round of applause. He definitely is one of the main people to push this change. Hopefully his spending change will also happen. We'll see. But just absolutely incredible, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. If you did, make sure you give us a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like I said, you're not getting MLS content like this anywhere else. Breaking live streams to talk about big changes like this, all kinds of different things, playoff coverage. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're trying to hit 12K subscribers by the end of this year. Also, make sure you hit that little bell notification so you don't miss any of my videos and live streams. I hope you guys have a great night. Make sure you let me know if you like or dislike this change. And until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.